Right. So in this session, we are going to discuss about the overview of integrated business planning, that is SAP IBP. So the agenda is before directly jumping into the IBP overview, first let us understand about the supply chain. What are the tools available in the market to handle that supply chain, and how IBP is evolved, and finally we'll move on to the IBP key features. Okay, so let me start with the simple supply chain. If you take any supply chain, okay, the starting node of any supply chain will be a customer, right? So if I take a customer, if any demand comes, okay, from the customer, okay, or otherwise customer directly reaches to the nearest retailers to get any product, right? For example, if you wanna buy a two-wheeler, let us say scooty, Activa, okay, you will reach us to the nearest service provider, right? I mean, wherever you will get those scooties. No need to go into the respective warehouses or the respective manufacturing units, right? Those are the retailers. These retailers will further connected to the distribution centers, and distribution centers further connected to the manufacturing units. And manufacturing units for the raw materials are sometimes, if the sub capacity is not available, so for the FG also they will depend upon the suppliers, right? So this is a simple supply chain I'm considering now. So whatever the demand you are getting from the customer, okay, so let us say you have a demand or the requirement of 100 quantities there. Okay, so this will move on to the retailer, and at the retailer level it will verify the stock situation. Okay, if retailer having the stock, and then he will immediately fulfill the customer demand. Okay, if not, he will further propagate the demand to the distribution center. Okay, distribution center again will verify the stock situation, whether readily available stock is there or not. If the stock is not there, he will further propagate the demand to the manufacturing unit, because distribution center will not produce it because it didn't have that it didn't have the capability to produce. It's just a warehouse, right? So now distribution center will pass on this demand to the manufacturing units. Okay, at the manufacturing unit at the plant, it will try to produce it. Okay, if the capacity is available, readily available, and the required raw materials are there, it will try to produce it. For example, if the raw materials are not there, it will further depend upon the supplier to get the raw material. Let us say here 1:1 ratio is there for the bomb. So whatever the requirement you got it, so that will further propagate to the supplier. So this is how in any supply chain network, the demand will flow or the requirement will flow from the downstream node of your supply chain to the upstream nodes. Okay, so here customer is a node and retailer is a node, DC is a node, plant is a node, and supplier is a node. Okay, so customer is a downstream node, and if you're going upward, this is a upstream nodes. Okay, that is a supplier is the topmost upstream node. Okay, now supplier will provide that raw materials to the manufacturing unit, and manufacturing unit will produce that, and the plant will further propagate the supply to the DC, and DC will fulfill the retailer demand, and retailer will fulfill the customer demand. Okay, this is how the requirement will flow from the downstream to upstream, and the supply will flow from the upstream to the downstream. Okay, so for any organization, okay, in order to sustain in the market, okay, you should be able to satisfy your requirement on time with the right quantity of right quality at the right point of time. If you're able to do that, then you are managing well in the market, right? So to do that, I mean, in order to happen that, you should have this flow properly, right? So the requirement should flow with respect to the supply will flow on time, right? So I mean, whatever the network I have considered here, it's a basic network, but in real time, we don't have the only one customer or only one retailer, the DCs, right? We have n number of customers, n number of retailers are there, and distribution centers and manufacturing units, and n number of suppliers are there, right? So in order to manage that, okay, It is not possible via manual effort. Right? Obviously, it required one tools. Right? In the market, there are a lot of tools are available. Those are Anaplan. Okay, we have JDA, and we have Kinaxis, and from SAP side we have SAP APO and SAP IBP. Okay, these are the tools which are available in the market to handle the end-to-end supply chain. Now, if you look at the ERP world, okay, so 70% of the market, I can say, it is completely dominated by the SAP tools only, right? So let us focus on the SAP provided tools to handle the uh, end-to-end supply chain. Those are SAP APO and SAP IBP, right? So SAP APO is an on-premise solution and IBP is a cloud solution. Okay, what is on-premise? On-premise means in order to set up a, a solution. Okay, let us say here SAP APO, if you want to set up for your client, okay, you need to set up the database and administration at your client location only. Okay, whereas if the cloud, you just need to procure the license and the rest of the things will be handled by the SAP itself. Okay, wherever you are implementing it at that respective location, you need to have this data setup. Okay, that's what on-premise. So now to handle this end-to-end supply chain, SAP APO is further subdivided into the five major modules. Those are demand planning, DP, and supply network planning, and PPDS, production planning and detail scheduling, and TPVS, transportation and vehicle scheduling, and finally GATP, global available to promise. Okay, so demand planning is a long-term plan. Okay, basically what it will do, it's a forecasting tool. Whatever the past sales are there, it will just read it. Against that, it will help you to predict the future sales. Okay, it's a long-term plan for the next 1 year or 2 years or the next 6 months. It will help you to predict the sales based upon the past sales history. Now, once you got to know that this is the demand this is the sales I'm going to get for the next 6 months or the next 1 year, how I am going to fulfill that. Okay, so for that you should have a proper rough supply plan, where to produce, how much to produce, in which DC I need to store, and in which manufacturing plant I need to produce, and via which DC I need to transfer to the customer, right? So a rough idea you should able to have it. So then only you can able to fulfill the customer demand on time, right? So for that, S&P is there. It's a midterm plan. So whatever the demand planning results are there, it will take it as an input along with your ongoing sales. And by considering that, it will help you to generate the rough supply plan. Now, once you have that supply plan, in the PPDS, you are going to convert that supply plan into the actual production plan. So here, every second will matter. That is the reason it's a short-term plan. Okay, so along with the production planning, here we do the scheduling as well. I mean, in which sequence I need to do the production. So suppose there are 10 production orders are there. Okay, so which production order I need to produce first on the shop floor, right? So those things will be handled under the PPDS. Now, during the production activity or post the production, okay, you know, to move the products from one node to another node of your supply chain network optimally, the TPVS will help. Suppose you produce 200, okay, today, and tomorrow you produce two more 100. I mean, 200 again. So you need to send total 400 to one particular location. Instead of sending today and tomorrow twice, you can store this, or you can make an inventory of this 200, okay, and 400 together you can send it to the respective customer, so that it will save your transportation, right? So that's where TPUS will help us. And GATP, so far whatever the modules we have seen, this is a within your organization. GATP is a tool which directly interacts with your customer. I can say it's a front end tool, okay, from APO. What actually it does is it will take your customer requirements and it will verify your supply chain network whether you are able to fulfill that or not. If you're able to fulfill it, by when you are going to fulfill it. Those details will be provided by the GATP. The best example, you can take any e-commerce site. Okay, let us say Amazon or the Flipkart or Myntra. If you go there, if you want to search, if you want to buy some product, you search there. Okay, it will give you the list of vendors to you, right? If you pick or if you select one particular vendor, it will propose the delivery date by when you are going to get. The same functionality in the ERP world will be achieved by a GATP solution. So now on top of that, what SAP thought is, they thought to bring a systematic approach for the S&OP plannings as well. Like whatever the S&OP meetings the business used to have, okay, they want to bring it into the system. So for that, they started developing a tool called S&OP. Okay, so the later they renamed that tool to SAP IBP. Okay, and further in IBP, they slowly added or migrated whatever the modules are there in APO to IBP. Those are IBP for demand, IBP for supply, IBP for S&OP, IBP for inventory, okay, IBP for supply chain control tower. Okay, these are the major modules. Even MRY is also there. And whatever the demand planning is there, it is migrated to IBP as IBP for demand, and S&P is migrated to supply and S&OP, and PPDS is migrated to our execution system S4HANA, that is as ePPDS, embedded PPDS. Okay, and TPVS as the TM and GATP as a AATP, advanced available to promise. Okay, so good. So this is how IBP evolved. So for any doubts, if you guys any doubts, you can put me in the chat window so that I will accordingly reply. Okay, good. So no queries. Okay, fine. So let's move on to the, if no further queries, let's move on to the overview of IBP. What exactly IBP is capable of. Okay, so hope you guys are able to see my PPT screen. Yes. Okay, good. So now if you look at, so these are the major modules of IBP. So first one is the demand. What is the general demand planning cycle? If you look at, irrespective of the tool, first thing is you need to gather the historical data. Once you gather the historical data, you need to clean the historical data, right? Once you clean your historical data, then based upon your formula or your own algorithm, with that you will generate a forecasting by taking some error thresholds, and you will finalize that and keep on for every month whether it is giving the same kind of accuracy or not. You will further tune it if something is deviated. That is a general demand planning cycle, right? If you bring into the IBP, so once you gather the historical data to clean your historical data, so here in IBP we have substitute missing values are there. We have promotional sales lift elimination is there. We have outlier detection and correction is there. Okay, so with the help of that, you can clean your historical data. Okay, so now on top of that, we have ABC XYZ segmentation and the time series analysis is there. With the help of that, you will get to know what kind of products you have. So what kind of sales history pattern it is following, so that it will make your life easier while doing the forecasting. If you know that well before, this is the pattern it is following. If it is following the seasonality, then I will go for the seasonal relevant models. If it is following the trend, I will look for the trend relevant models. If it is both, then I will look for the which model which consider the both seasonality and the trend. Like so that kind of functionality you will get it under the IB for demand. Now on top of that, we have the best fit forecast model. So we know that, so suppose some products are there, it is following the trend. Now out of that I mean, we have 5 to 6 trend relevant models are there. Out of that, which one it is best suited for my sales history of the product. So for that, we have the best fit forecasting algorithm is there. On top of that, we have n number of advanced forecasting algorithms are there. Whichever you feel, whichever it is relevant for your data set, you can use it and you will get the respective forecast. So on top of that, to monitor it, the errors. We have MEP, MSC, RMSC, MAP, okay, MPE. Okay, these error methods are supported in IBP. And not only that, we can do the demand planning for a product which you recently introduced in the market, or you can handle the demand planning when your product is going to expire, going to phase out from your market. Okay, very soon you are going to end that product. For that kind of product, how to do the demand planning? So basically, the life cycle planning of a product will be covered under the IB for demand. Okay, so these are the key functionality or the features which you will get as a part of IB for demand. Now, so once you got to know the demand, how well you can plan the supply, right? You should able to do that, right? So for that we have the IBP supply is there. So here both constant and unconstrained planning runs are there. Okay, depending upon your the requirement, you can leverage both the planning runs. Okay, if you want to understand the bottlenecks of your supply chain, then you can go for the unconstrained. If you want to go with the optimizer solution, you can go for the constrained. Okay, so we have at the higher level, we have heuristic and optimizers are there for the supply planning. Now, along with the supply, we even IBP support inventory as well. So inventory is required because basically to avoid the stock out situation or to avoid the high inventory holding cost rate. So that means both the cases are not good for the any supply chain, right? You should not keep more inventory. At the same time, you should not left out without inventory, right? So to avoid that, you should able to know that way to keep the right inventory in your supply chain network, right? So for that, IBP inventory is very important. So here, it will help you to keep the right inventory at the right node of your supply chain network with the help of the 2 3 algorithms are there. Those are multi-stage inventory optimization, single-stage inventory optimization, and the target inventory component generation. Okay. So now on top of these 3 models, we have the S&OP as well. Okay. What exactly it will do? So I mean, in general, S&OP meetings and what we'll do. So all the stakeholders come together, get handshake with each other to finalize the your consensus demand, right? Your supply. So that's if you do it in a systematic manner, there S&OP will help you. So when you get the S&OP license, you will get the basic functionality of the demand or the basic functionality of the supply. Okay, so now on top of that, you have the supply chain control tower. So basically, this is for the analytics. Okay, so one good thing is whichever the module you get the license. Okay, if you take the license for the demand or the inventory or the supply, so as a complementary, SAP provide the supply chain control tower as a free at the free cost. Okay, you no need to pay anything at free cost. They will give all this functionality which is there in the supply chain control tower. So under the supply chain control tower, we have the analytics. So with the help of the analytics, you can visualize the data in the form of the charts or the dashboards. You can handle the exceptions with the help of the alerts. Okay. And you will get the end-to-end visibility of your supply chain network. Okay. So all those things you will get via supply chain control tower. Okay. This is just a high level overview of IBP. So now if I go further, any doubts here? Okay, good. So this is a high level architecture of IBP. So backend will be the S4HANA. Okay, the database will be S4HANA. And IBP has a 2 user interfaces. One is an Excel user interface and the second one is a web user interface. Okay, so that means you can access from your mobile, you can access from your a tab or the laptop, PC, from anywhere you can access. Okay. So, and IBP, it's a purely a planning tool. Okay, it won't do any execution part, right? So to bring the data into the IBP, once the planning is done for the further executions, you need to depend on the other systems, right? So for that, to bring to publish the results back to your source system, we need an interface, right? So for that, we have the CIDS, Cloud Platform Integration, and the RTI is the real-time integration. With the help of that, you can bring the data into the IBP, do the planning. Once the planning is done, you can publish the results back to your source system. So here, so this integration not only for the SAP tools, you even you can connect the non-SAP tools or the third-party tools with the SAP IBP. Okay, so that flexibility is there with the CIDS. So now, and finally, some key features. So as I mentioned, IBP is available in Excel UI or in the web UI as well. So in the web UI, the applications are in the form of Fiori apps. Like in the mobile, how the apps are there, right? In the similar way, all the functionalities will be represented under the dedicated apps. And it's landscape and installation. It's a cloud-based installation. You just need to get the license for it. Okay. And once you get the license, and the rest of the things will be taken care by the SAP. Analytics, yes, it is inbuilt analytics are there with the help of the SCCT. And data model, it supports the both unified data model and the flexible data model. Unified means with a single model, if you want to do all kinds of planning, so that is also supported. Or if you want to have a dedicated model for the each kind of planning, one data model dedicatedly for the supply, one data model dedicatedly for the demand, one data model dedicatedly for the inventory. So that kind of planning also, or that kind of setup also possible in our IBP. Now, integration and collaboration, yes, we discussed just now. So, with the help of the CADS and RTI, we can do the integration. Okay, and you can collaborate with the all the planners as well in IBP, and features and capabilities. So far, we just discussed. Okay, so with this, I mean, maybe by end of this. At least you got to know what is IBP, what IBP is capable of, what are the different modules in IBP, how IBP is evolved. Okay, so next is so for the remaining, what is the course content, what is the timings of these training. Okay, so all those things, please be connect with your coordinator. Okay, he will help you with the all those details. Okay, with this, the demo part is done. Okay, and now it is open for the queries. And I'm stopping the recording, and we'll discuss about your queries and all.